guys, and welcome to this month's episode. I'm sorry if there's been a little bit of a delay getting this one up to you. I've been rushing around this week trying to get my projects finished, but also running a load of errands and trying to get everything ready for my trip to England next week. And as I'm going to England to see some of my family, I had to pop into the hair salon. That's why I'm looking extra fluffy, so there's been a lot of rushing around, but also quite a bit of knitting. Now today I have two finished objects to share with you, both of which I am so happy with and so excited about wearing when autumn finally arrives. The first one is my Tonight top, which many of you will have seen already. I have talked it up a lot, and I also posted an image of it, or a few images actually, on my Instagram this week. In my opinion, this top is such a massive success story. I love every single detail about it. Now, I love a lot of the stuff that I knit because, you know, when you put in that much effort and you work so hard on a project, it's hard not to develop an attachment to it after a while. However, with this one, this is a pattern that I know if I ever wear this jumper out, I'm just going to cast on another one and make it again. In fact, I'm already thinking about casting on another one in a different colour. I would like them in black, navy, grey, I mean I already have grey, any colour you can imagine this top would be perfect in. Picking up from where I last updated you, I was knitting down the body, so I got that all done, and then I went on to finish the body with the rib. Now the rib I am very happy with because it looks nice and neat, and I was kind of very careful when I was thinking about how long I wanted this to be, because I knew that I didn't want it to go too much like down kind of over my bum. I wanted it to rest at that sort of place that I often talk about on my videos, that perfect kind of like on the hip location, which I will show you images of here and you can tell me whether you think I got that spot on. But yeah, very happy with the length and the fit overall. Now, I really love this pattern and just how detailed but also really well explained it is. I don't feel like there was any part where I was getting confused, although there were a few more advanced techniques in here. I mean, I've done double knitting before, but I know double knitting can be a bit of a challenge when it isn't explained clearly. And this piece had one element that I've never done before, and that is working German short rows inside double knitting. Now, some of you might think, oh my goodness, you're telling me you have to work German short rows and do double knitting at the same time. And yes, my friends, that is what I'm telling you, but I promise you that this pattern will make you feel less apprehensive about that. It's really nice and clear. There are even useful little diagrams to guide you or to kind of show you what she means when she explains this short row shaping. Now, the addition of the short row shaping is so important because it allows you to get that really wonderful curve around the armpits. I had been a little bit concerned because I'd played around with the sizes, as I was in between two sizes. I think I was in between size 2 and 3 because I'm a 90cm bust, so definitely kind of midway. I didn't want it too tight, but I didn't want it too loose, so I kind of hacked it a little bit, started in a size 2 and then did more increases, but that worked out just right. However, my alterations did make me a little bit apprehensive that maybe the shoulders were going to be a little bit too loose. But once I picked up all of my stitches and I started knitting that really gorgeous thick band of double knitting, I knew, okay, it's right, it's going to be fine. That kind of tightened up the whole under kind of arm area and just made sure that it had a really nice snug fit that also looked super clean and super crisp. I would say that no one will be able to detect that this is a handmade garment. The fact that it's knit on very small needles, of course, is a massive contributing factor to that, but also the yarn selection. So the We Are Knitters Baby Alpaca was an awesome option for this. This yarn has a very soft and kind of fuzzy texture that I feel just allows it to kind of meld together. As soon as I brought it out of the wash and I kind of put it out on my drying rack, I was looking at all of those fibres sort of puff up. And some people had warned me that this yarn does have the tendency to stretch, so I was extra careful about this. I have a hand wash setting on my washing machine that I use for basically all my jumpers, and that does tend to actually work better than kind of going in with my own hands and really squeezing and wringing the fabric. I have stretched a couple of jumpers by doing that in the past, so I am very aware, especially when I get a warning about a particular yarn. Now, although this yarn was really soft and I was a little bit worried about it stretching out, I'm happy to report that I measured it before and after, and I actually had no real growth or shrinkage in my measurements at all. So it was the perfect size even when I had washed it and kind of blocked it, or just laid it flat to block it out. And yeah, so I will include some close-ups of this jumper. I really am a huge fan of mock neck designs. I find them to be extra comfortable in comparison to something like a turtleneck that can kind of constrict you. And this is just so smooth and kind of seamless. I put that 99% down to the pattern, but also to the fact that I do feel like after all of these years, I'm getting much better at picking up stitches. I used to dread picking up stitches, and I used to count them in like a really kind of focused and meticulous way. However, I appreciate now that quite a few pattern designers are including details that say something along the line of do approximately this many stitches. So approximately 2 out of 3, and it doesn't really matter how many you actually get as long as it's similar to the finished number. And I find that that stops my tendency to sort of obsessively count my stitches and then maybe add or like take away some stitches because I feel like the count's not going to match up. So yeah, that's a really good tip. You don't always have to actually match the perfect stitch count when you're picking up stitches. In fact, most of the time, the most important thing is that you're doing it evenly and neatly. And I feel like it's all finally making sense to me. I'm finally getting the hang of how to pick up stitches in a really seamless and really perfect way. And it doesn't feel like that horrible sort of laborious task that it used to feel like sometimes. So that is great. And if I had any worries about picking up stitches before this month, they would have been alleviated by these two projects, because of course the Tonight top was on the tiny needles and picking up stitches with that was quite a challenge, but my other project that I'm going to share with you in a minute had a huge amount of stitches to pick up. I mean, 4 separate sections, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stitches. So that has definitely cleared any worries that I had about picking up stitches. And yeah, here is the top on. I just styled it with a pair of really comfortable black trousers from Uniqlo and my black bag from Jacquemus. I feel like this is giving a very kind of cool 90s rom-com vibe, which I'm all for at the moment. And overall, this has to be one of my favourite finished objects to date. I feel like it's timeless, it will never go out of style, it will always feel comfortable because I knit it with enough ease that it doesn't feel really tight or like I have to feel very slim on a particular day if I want to wear it. So yeah, I cannot recommend this pattern to you enough. If you're thinking about making it, trust me, make it, you will not regret it. It's wonderful. And the designer is so lovely and friendly. She has her podcast here on YouTube, of course, which I will link down below. And yeah, just 10 out of 10, truly. A wonderful knitting experience and a piece that I will treasure forever in my wardrobe. It can be dressed up or dressed down too, which is something I'm really looking for in some of my projects at the moment, because I do feel like a lot of knitting can lean quite casual, but that doesn't always suit my lifestyle, I guess, because when I'm not kind of working from home and wearing like a big cozy jumper, I do want to feel a little bit more dressed up. Maybe it's because we live near Milan and people here are very fashionable, so I like to try and kind of keep up with that cool vibe. But yeah, I do like to get quite sort of dressed up and feel very chic and elegant when I go out and about, and this is just the perfect knit for that. So yeah, absolutely 100% recommend. Now moving on to my second finished object, and I will introduce you to the notorious stitches that I picked up. And this is of course the Lulu Slipover by Petite Knit. This pattern really stood out to me because of the mock neck design, but also because it features closures at the side with buttons. So I took that as an opportunity to include some beautiful tortoiseshell buttons because I love a touch of tortoiseshell. I just think it adds like a little bit of class to a lot of different things. And sewing on the buttons, of course, came after the mammoth task of picking up, I think it was a total of like 500 stitches all the way around, like on all sides, because you pick up stitches all the way along from the bottom all the way around, then you knit your rib. You do that on both sides to form the kind of armpit and side section of the slipover. And then you also pick up at the very, very bottom some sections that you do in double knitting. And again, this is of course another theme of my projects this month. There has been a lot of double knitting. And I personally really like the finish that you get with double knitting. It's a technique that I will definitely have to look out for when I'm selecting things in the future, because I feel like it gives you a finish that is just a little bit more elevated than your standard ribbing. It also doesn't stretch as much, so when you're making something like a kind of button, I believe is it called a placket? I think. But when you're making a kind of buttonhole and button area, you really don't want your knitted piece to stretch out of shape, because that is something that I have noticed in some of my sort of cardigans or pieces that I've made where it hasn't been in double knitting around the buttons. They do tend to just get a little bit worn out and a little bit stretched out with use. So yeah, after doing the mammoth task of doing all of the ribbing and all of the double knitting on this, it was finally time to sew on the buttons, and it was so satisfying to attach these, and they were the perfect size. I had been a little bit worried that they might be a bit big when I looked at the buttonhole, but I kind of just needed to stretch it out and like push it through, and now it fits perfectly. And although there are buttons on this piece that allow the pullover to kind of have a little bit of like an opening effect that gives you a bit of extra room at your hips, I don't think that I will actually be unbuttoning this very often, because I can slide it right over my head, and yeah, I don't need to button and unbutton it basically. And here it is on. I am so thrilled with this colour in particular. Now the yarn that I used for this slipover is the Hobbii Friends Wool and Mohair in colour number 12. And I've had a lot of questions and a lot of people sending me messages about how much they like this colour. And yeah, I do too. I just feel like there's something very classic about it. It goes with black, it goes with white, and it's just very, very easy to create very impactful looking pieces in such a deep and beautiful colour as this one. So yes, number 12 in the Hobbii Friends range. Of course, this is part of the yarn that they kindly sent to me, and I have loved knitting it up. It's the first time that I've used the larger of the Friends range, because I've tried their merino before, but I have to say, I think I actually like their wool, this thicker one, even more, because it has a little bit of extra squidge and a little bit of extra toothiness to the yarn that I think will make it work also really well for something like a colourwork project. And I do have a few balls of these left over, and I reckon that's exactly what I'm going to do. Maybe create a beautiful grey jumper with like this lovely reddy brown colourwork, or maybe even white, and this I think could be really, really nice. But yeah, definitely watch out for this in the future, because it will be making a reappearance in the form of colourwork. Now that I've talked to you pretty extensively about the lovely yarn that I used for this Lulu Slipover, I want to add a few notes about what I felt about the overall fit and kind of look of this piece from Petite Knit. Now, this was quite a peaceful knit when it came to the body, because that was just stockinette, but the ribbing is pretty arduous. I mean, if you're not a fan of ribbing, you might want to sit this one out because it's pretty extreme. It is worth it though, I will say. It does give you a very nice polished look. The thing that really makes this piece stand out and makes it kind of unique but also very comfortable and kind of cozy to wear is the fact that these armholes are all open, but also that they're very, very deep. So I find that that just makes it a little bit more flattering because it doesn't cling anywhere. It just feels very, very open and like it sits on top of something like a t-shirt or a shirt, which I personally like the look of more than a more like fitted sort of slipover. I feel sometimes fitted slipovers can go into the territory of being slightly frumpy, but you do avoid this with a piece like this because it gives you enough room and it will never really, as long as you choose the right size, cling to you anywhere. And when autumn is finally here, I'm really looking forward to wearing this paired with a white shirt underneath like I had here, or just with black. For the autumn it would probably be long sleeved, but I put it over my outfit that I've got on today just to show you the sort of shape and what it looks like with black underneath. Again, it goes so well with these basic colours. But the fact that this yarn is so deep, sort of brown red, just I think really makes my hair pop and makes me look very sort of like alive. I've talked extensively about why I like certain colours, and this one is now definitely at the top of my list of ones that I think are quite good with my skin tone and my hair, so I'm really looking forward to wearing this and feeling super cozy and autumnal. It is of course going to have to wait for quite a while in my cupboard as it is still extremely hot. But talking about hot weather kind of things, I also want to share with you some of my works in progress. The first of which is the Lanta Bag by Paulastrickt, which has featured in a couple of my other videos because I told you I was going to cast it on. And having overcome my kind of brain difficulties when it came to wrapping my head around the yarn over kind of sections in this, I'm happy to report that I have finally cast it on and it is really looking pretty good. As with a lot of other bags, this starts with Judy's Magic Cast On. She includes a video in her pattern, but that video is in German. However, you can just easily search on YouTube and there are countless options that really clearly explain how you do this cast on. And even though I haven't used this cast on in quite a while, doing it again reminds me of just how brilliant it is to kind of have in your arsenal of cast on options. So you use 2 needles. I'll show you a picture of me doing it here. And it is a little bit fiddly and a bit difficult to kind of understand the first few times you do it. However, once you get into the flow, you will find that you'll probably pick it up pretty easily. And the beauty of it is it creates an almost seamless kind of finish to a bottom of a bag, or I know some people use it for toes of socks, just because there is no line at all on the right side of your work, which makes it really unique, but also just look really, really great and sort of smooth and crisp. Of course, this is especially good for something like a bag, because if you put it down or if you have it full of stuff, it wouldn't be as nice to see that kind of line of cast on blobs. So yeah, definitely my favourite one for casting on bags. And now that I'm into the open lacework pattern, I am really looking forward to getting this bag done as I'm hoping to take it on holiday to England. I have extensively used my Brigitte bag, which is like a lacework bag that I use always on holiday just because it's so easy to pack into my suitcase. But I quite fancy pairing this one with some of the outfits that I've got planned out. I may actually do a little vlog in the next few weeks, kind of putting together some outfits with my hand knits for my holiday in England, just because I am so looking forward to the weather being under 30 degrees I cannot tell you how excited I am to actually be able to wear something that isn't just a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. It's so sweltering here. This week, I believe there was one day where it was 36. Yes, I'm sorry for being really English and complaining about the weather. I cannot wait for some good English summer weather. That will make me very, very happy, especially if I get the chance to wear some of my lovely knits. And yeah, I'm going to be finishing the Lanta bag in the next week, so it will be ready to take with me. But so far, I'm really enjoying the kind of minimal and very chic looking lacework that's being created when I knit this up. This, of course, is knit in the Hobbii Friends cotton. I believe it's the 8x8 cotton in this undyed natural shade that I'll just give you a quick look at here. And this has been, so far, a really lovely yarn to work with. It's surprisingly soft. I think that you could definitely use a yarn like this for making a top or like a little tee. I don't think that it would be too stiff either. Now, of course, in the lacework pattern that I'm doing for the Lanta bag, I am creating a fabric that doesn't have a lot of stretch, and that's quite good for a bag. However, of course, if you're considering a yarn like this for a top, I do think that you will get a little bit of stretch and it will become a little bit looser with wear. But yeah, overall, another really great option from the Hobbii Friends range. I've been really enjoying this range of yarn from Hobbii just because the prices are pretty good. The colour match is wonderful. I mean, that's the whole idea behind this range, that you can mix and match colours together with a lot of different bases. And I really like that. I think that that suits a lot of modern knitters who maybe like to hold a few different strands of yarn together. I'm definitely that way, and I know a lot of you guys are too, especially with the mohair, so it's nice knowing that you're going to get a really sort of strong and rich colour when you hold that mohair with something like a wool. And yeah, overall, I'm really happy to be making the Lanta bag. I'm really hoping to get it done as soon as possible so that I can wear it and pair it with a few of my holiday outfits. Now, on to my last project this month that I've only just kind of started planning out, and that is the Kuutar top by Sari Nordlund. If you guys watched my summer tops video, I included that as one of my options. And when I was compiling that list, the Kuutar top definitely stood out to me as such a great one for wearing in the evenings. And going with a more elegant kind of evening theme, I've decided to cast this on in a nice dark colour. So I'm going for this beautiful rich chocolate brown cotton yarn from Katia. Now, unfortunately, this yarn has been in my stash for absolutely ages. I think I got it about 2 years ago, so I really have held on to it for a long time. And I had a project in mind back then when I got it, but then I never actually got around to making that, or I think maybe I changed my mind. I mean, I can't even remember what my actual project was for that yarn. However, I think it will be absolutely perfect for this Kuutar top. So I'm not going to talk too much at length about the yarn at the moment, but just wanted to share with you some of my upcoming plans. Of course, I also have the egg yolk sweater that is on the back burner at the moment, just because I had a few issues with getting my tension right on that one. However, I am still hopeful that I can take that one on holiday and maybe finish it so I can wear it while I'm there visiting my family. And I think that that just about rounds up all of my rambling on my projects this month. Again, not an absolutely massive amount of sort of new projects or anything, because I am really trying to hone in and focus on a few specific things. In the next few weeks, I am thinking about doing a styling video, as I mentioned, and there may also be a bonus project that I'm going to do, because I picked up some bag handles and some raffia that I'm absolutely itching to make an evening bag with, because I am attending a wedding while I'm in England and I would love to add a little handmade element to my outfit. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will catch up with you again very, very soon. Bye!